Welcome to another episode of our personal empowerment premium audio series, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder. And our program today is about what I think is probably life's greatest treasure hunt. Today's program is called Finding Your Passion. A couple of little hints. You're not going to find it by looking outside of yourself, and you're not going to find it through your thoughts. It has to start inside with feelings.
The good news is, whether you're a religious person, maybe not religious but spiritual, or even if your orientation is more along the lines of, I don't know about any of that, but I'm interested in humanism and psychology and anthropology, sociology, the sciences that help us understand human beings better. It does seem in all of these different areas as if each of us is made for something in particular. We are so diverse in terms of fingerprints and DNA as to be able to declare that every single human being is unique. But beyond your uniqueness, you're made for something. You're here for a reason. And we may never know exactly what it is, but we're going to tell you how to find it. And I think a good place to start is that while mental understanding and your thoughts about this are important and necessary, they're part of the whole process, you're going to find your calling, your passion, your reason to be, not in your head so much as in your heart.
Yeah, calling, passion, reason to be. Raison d'etre, I think is what they call that. We're not saying necessarily that there's a person or creator or something who built you with a particular function in mind. What we're saying is that inside of you is a unique combination of gifts, talents, and abilities, a unique combination of experiences and memories, a unique combination that could be put together in such a unique way that you could create something no one else ever could. That the combination of your best gifts, talents, and abilities in the best and most appropriate way would provide something very, very special for the world. And that's what we're saying, that everybody is special, everybody's unique, and everybody has really wonderful combinations of gifts, talents, and abilities that is different through their genetics and through their experience, that is different than anybody else has ever had. So you have inside of you the ability to be very, very special, very, very successful, prosperous, fulfilled, whatever word you want to put on it. All that potential lies within you. But how we discover it is really the key. And it's not a one-time shot. It's not like you close your eyes and abracadabra, and now you know what it is. It's a journey toward fulfillment. It's a journey toward self-discovery. It's like I said, it's a treasure hunt, attempting to find the treasure that is inside of you.
I read a quote the other day I thought was clever and really speaks to this. It said, "The shortest distance between any 2 points is usually under construction." So, in other words, life is full of detours, and that is the adventure. It's like, gee, I thought I was headed in one direction, but I suddenly had this little detour, this little side trip over here that I wasn't counting on. But nevertheless, if you sort of roll with it, look around, wake up, see what can I learn from this, however the experience appears to you. Is this a good thing? Maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing disguised as a bad thing. Maybe it really is a bad thing, but there are some wonderful benefits or lessons that you need to learn that you might not have been able to learn any other way. To, in this way, wax philosophical, I guess that's the way I'd say it, is to really help yourself make the best out of a bad situation. Or, Steve, what's that John Wooden line about making the best out of what's available to you? Or
things work out best for people who make the best out of the way things work out.
Yeah. It's all that life is what you make it stuff, really. And life is an adventure. So it's important not to complain, but consider that this adversity or this situation, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a particular professor you had in college in a subject you love, but this person is making it dreary and boring, and now you're having second thoughts. You know how life can do that to you. Again, if you breathe, relax. I like to use the image of stepping back or zooming out, trying to get a higher perspective or creating a bigger picture or context, as if there's got to be something good in here for me. There's got to be a benefit in here, and then often I recognize it, and it makes this situation easier to tolerate. So life has its trials, and it has its rewards. I think what we're saying up front is don't settle for less. Find that passion and pursue it tenaciously. Never give up, never give in anything of significance. And what's more significant than your reason for being here? I think pretty quickly most of us arrive at a point where we realize that earning and spending and simply producing and consuming, acquiring and maintaining, repairing and replacing our stuff is not really enough. When you're a kid, it's a lot of fun. You get that first new car or that great stereo system with the killer speakers and, a set of clothes, whatever is important to you. But pretty quickly, you get to the point where you start looking around and say, life's got to be about more than this. Well, it is. And you don't ever want to knuckle under or cave in to the belief that some of your friends may have that this is blue sky and that you're going to have to do a job that you hate, work with people that you don't really admire or respect. It's not true.
Unless you make it true. And most people don't believe that they're capable of having the thing that they love most in the world. And there are people out there who are following their passion. There are people who are listening right now to this very, very show and are saying, well, I'm following my passion. I'm doing the job I love. I'm married to the man or woman I love. I've got this wonderful hobby that just occupies my time and makes me happy. I'm feeling good about life. There are people like that, and I like to raise my hand and consider myself one of them. But if you're not one of those people, if you're not following your passion, I'd like to suggest there are probably two reasons. One is you don't know what it is. You haven't discovered it. You haven't looked inside of yourself and just quietly asked yourself the question, what is my passion? What do I love? And if you are one that does, I'll get back to that in a moment, but if you are one that does know what their passion is but just haven't followed it, it's probably because you've talked yourself out of it by agreeing with your thoughts. And that's a big problem we have. We hear in our heart the thing that we would love to be and love to do, and then this mind, this thought thing that isn't who we are. It's just thoughts, but we tend to agree with them, and they say, oh, you're not good enough, or oh, you'll never make it, or oh, it's too hard, or all those thoughts. And we have to have those thoughts so we can release them so they get out of our way, so they don't sabotage us. We don't want to hold on to them. The idea is the problem's not the thoughts. The problem is agreeing with those thoughts. And when you do that, then you sabotage yourself. So if you do know what your passion is and you're not following it, what you need to do is listen to those thoughts that tell you not to follow it, hear them, experience them, and release them. And then get those out of the way and start hearing the thoughts that say, well, it's absolutely worth the shot. There's no guarantees, but it's absolutely worth the shot, because the journey toward what you love the most is your greatest journey. Even if you never get there, the journey toward what you love the most. How do you discover what it is that you love the most? Well, again, Michael's talking about how unique and one of a kind we are. That's how you discover it. Discover how unique you are. Ask yourself questions like, what are your favorite books you've ever read? Now, why are those your favorite books? Are those the world's favorite books, or everybody thinks those? No, it's because there's something that resonates inside of you with those particular books. You're unique. Most people in the world probably don't like those particular books, or even if most people do, a whole lot of people don't. Movies. What are your favorite movies? What are your favorite television shows? Think about, who do you admire? Who are your heroes? Those kinds of things, those questions you can ask yourself that your answers are unique. Everybody doesn't answer the same way you do. That's how you discover what's special about you and what's unique about you. If you could be anybody that ever lived, anybody that ever could be, who would you be? Asking yourself those kinds of questions. Flights of fancy. It's the heart opening up and expanding and dreaming and envisioning and just imagining that allows us to get a glimpse of what the passion is. Once we have that sensation, once we have that feeling of like what it's about, then we can start to think about it. We can start to expand through thoughts. But it has to start by relaxing, quieting your mind, and listening to your heart tell you what it is that you really love.
I think we should talk a little about the difference between meaning and purpose. And I'm not totally convinced there is a difference. A lot of people use the terms interchangeably.
Yeah. I think purpose is sort of a general and meaning is sort of a specific, kind of, to me.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. In fact, I would be inclined to capitalize purpose as if it is this overarching a link or golden thread that runs through everybody's life. Maybe we all have the same purpose.
Maybe the purpose of not just humans, but every living thing is the same.
Yeah, we're on the same track, which I would say is to grow.
Right.
Or to expand or learn.
Move
or
toward fulfillment.
Evolve,
yeah.
Yeah. Trial and error, figure it out, get better, wanting to know self.
Better, smarter, happier, more fulfilled, all those things. It's a purpose. It's a clear direction, like a plant goes up toward the sun. It's the clear direction human beings go.
I agree. I think that's capital P, purpose. And then meaning gets real personal, I think. Now we're talking about what you just described, the idea of, okay, we're going to get personal, like what do you love? That's really what it comes down to. You know, I've done radio programs and I've done public discussions on what do you love? And it's interesting where it goes. People often head off into who do you love and romance, as if that's the only kind of love. But if I do the same presentation on the radio or discussion group or whatever, and I call it, what do you care about? Well, that's completely different. Oh, I didn't know you meant that kind of love. Because love has so many qualities. There's so many types. Even the ancient Greeks had 4 or 5 different kinds of love. There's agape, which is sort of a spiritual love of mankind and humanity. There's eros, which is sort of lusty, sexy, kind of passionate love. There's a love known as philos. And besides those 3, the Greeks had a few others. One is storge, which is a kind of slow developing friendship kind of love, and
often lasts lifetimes.
That's right. And then there's even mania, which is an obsessive love where you're driven.
Stalker kind of love.
There's a few others. So my point is, throughout history, various cultures have really explored the meaning of love and the fact that it has so many different qualities. We can also go into trust and respect and dignity, kindness and tolerance and patience and even humility. All of these have to do with love. So now we're talking about a kind of a passion that's self-directed or inner-directed, where we find out what we love to do and who we would love to be, and spending our time in what particular activity do we find most rewarding. And to realize, as Steve said, how many people refuse to do that because they just don't believe. They see so many other people around them doing careers, for example, or jobs that they really don't like. And even choosing careers as young people because they think, well, I'll get some security if I do this, or I'll make a decent income anyway. And they never know the joy, the happiness, the passion that comes from doing something that you really love to do. Now, as we said in the opening, there are times that you have to do things you don't love. So I like to say that you have to love what you do until you can do what you love, right? So it's all attitude. I had a couple of factory jobs working my way through college that were just horrible. One was in an iron foundry back in the 60s. It was just unbelievable, like 19th century work. It was horrible and oppressing, and I felt like a slave in there. I was in this United Auto Workers Union, but I was making just over $2 an hour, swinging a sledgehammer often and using a shovel and doing really backbreaking work. And I just said, well, this is what you do to get to college, and this will motivate you to stay in college and get a career. I learned to play games. I learned to not goof off, but to apply myself in a way that was entertaining, if nothing else. I'd make little rhymes up in my head. I would sing songs. I would find a kind of rhythm. It's like in the Seven Dwarfs, whistle while you work, make the best of a bad situation. It was still horrible and oppressive work, but it wasn't so bad if I could make a game around it or play. And I even shared that with some of the other college students that were working in there. And We sort of did it together. It was our little secret, And it helps. It goes a long way toward making an oppressive situation not quite so oppressive. And I just said, I will love what I do until I can do what I love.
Yeah, you can't love all of what you do, but even if you love any aspect of what you do when you're doing something that you really don't want to be doing, any aspect of that makes a huge difference, because if there's just one thing to look forward to, you can put your mind on that. When you leave work at the end of the day, the next day is going to include this one thing at least, and that's the one thing that makes it all worthwhile. Start with that, move to 2 things, move to 5 things, expand as you can, but you can always find something. If only the fact that, you're getting a paycheck or you're able to support yourself because you're doing this. But I really do believe that everyone deserves to do what they love eventually. It's just you have to pay some dues. Sometimes you have to have some education. Sometimes you have to have some experience. Sometimes you have to save some money or, create partnerships or whatever it is you need to do. You don't just get to have it because you want it. You got to work for it. But if you are willing to find your passion, you will work for it because it feels good. It doesn't feel like work. That's one of the great things about working in a field that is your passion, is it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It feels like love. It feels like fun. So with the vision of one day being able to do what you love, then find something about what you do now that you can love and move in that direction. That's really one of the keys. If you're already, doing what you love, then you can expand and find other things in life to love. Love is, one of my favorite things to do, and it's kind of a new thing for me. Just a few years now I've been doing it, but Facebook actually gave me the opportunity to do something that I really always longed to do and never did, which was stay in touch with a lot of people. Every morning, one of my favorite things, I wake up and one of the first things I do is I look at Facebook and see whose birthday it is, and whosever birthday it is, of the 5,000 fans or, followers I have, there's always a few any given day that are not necessarily, but most days. And I just say, I write them a little poem, a little happy birthday poem, and I just say how much I appreciate them. And it feels wonderful. There's lots of things that you could do that you would love that you don't even know about yet, and you can find those things by exploring inside. How do you know that this is right? How do you know that this is one of those things that is your passion you're following? Well, it's really pretty simple. There's a thing called biofeedback. Listen to your body. If your lips are smiling, that's a very good sign. If your eyes are open and wide and sparkling, that's a very good sign. If your heart's beating a little quicker, if your adrenaline's flowing a little bit, if you're feeling kind of like excited in the pit of your tummy, there's a lot of ways to know that this is the right thing to do. It's easy to know this is the right thing to do. The problem becomes when those feelings come up, if we have, as so many people do, worthiness issues or, regret, remorse, shame kind of stuff come up, then our thoughts sometimes lead us to believe we actually do not deserve to feel this. Our thoughts tell us, oh no, you're not good enough to feel that good. You're a bad person. You did these bad things. You shouldn't feel, no, rewards are not, appropriate for you. It's thoughts that screw us up. We have this belief that our thoughts are so great and so wonderful. Some of them are, but there's a lot of thoughts that are just full of crap. It doesn't mean you believe them. Thoughts pop up. That doesn't mean you believe them. It's just submitted for your approval. The power's not in the thought. The power's in the agreement or the disagreement. The agreement and an empowerment. The disagreement and the creating it being inert. There's no power in the initial thought. That's so powerful. You're not your thoughts. You're that awareness of the fact that I just had a thought. Do I agree with it? Do I want to empower it? Do I disagree with it? Do I want to just release it? That's who you are. And so when those feelings come up, those are real. Feelings are real. Thoughts can be right or wrong, but feelings just are. Those feelings are like when you're doing something that makes you happy and you feel the heart beating faster and you feel the smile on your face and you feel all the wonderful flush of feeling. That's real. That's true. Now, when your thoughts try and negate that, what you want to do is see that as a wonderful opportunity to release the power of those thoughts. The power of those thoughts is to stop you from feeling good. So if you take those thoughts and you just let them go and continue to feel good, you've taken away, not the thought, the memory of the thought's still there, but you've taken away some of its charge, some of its power, and that's how you can follow your passion, by letting go of the negative thoughts that you have that say you don't deserve to.
That's so true. This is a point that I don't think we can repeat too many times. Your thoughts are sort of like the weather. they impact you. You're directly, especially let's say you work outdoors every day. Well, the weather is significant, and you might even call it critical, but you didn't create the weather. You're involved in it, but you didn't cause that weather. You didn't stimulate that weather. And your thought stream is very much like that. Further, your mental nature tends to be generated by the part of the self that is in charge of survival, the so-called ego or persona. So a lot of those thoughts are, by their very nature, going to be really, really critical. They're going to be negative thoughts. And if you identify, as I'm sure most people do, with just your mental nature and dismiss your emotions as if, oh, those are the unreal parts. I can't be bothered with my emotions. I've got to keep my body rigid, and by carrying all this tension, allow the pressure to build, which represses my sensitivity to my emotions. Or many of us are traumatized by events early in life that we repress, and then our emotional nature is blocked in so many ways. But, your thoughts are really valuable things. That's why we educate you to think critically in school. You'll need them to know the world around you. But when it comes to knowing the incomparable self, your uniqueness, and finding that passion, that calling, and honoring it, you've really got to turn to your heart. A word or two that comes to mind in this regard is day job, and I'm thinking about the number of people that I've met who found their passion, but they just couldn't find a way to make a living doing it.
Music, art, something like that, acting.
Yeah, exactly. Two people that come to mind from my private practice years ago, or over the years. One was a cellist for the Los Angeles Symphony, and another was a bass player in a punk rock band, the guy with the radical hair that was all spiked up. And so they were very different people, but they were identical in that they both loved their music. They just loved what they do, and they came to see me because they were tormented over this, what they saw was like a tug of war inside them. Like, if I follow this passion, I'm going to be this broke, starving artist, right? My family is already on me, and my friends are saying, get a job, you bum. And, not the cellist in the symphony so much, but the punk rock bass player. And in both cases, it was, well, don't quit your day job, but pursue the passion. And with the cellist, like, she had to rehearse in the day. It was like, don't quit your night job for her. She had to find something that she could do that would allow her to continue to practice with the symphony, and she was good. She had earned that place. And same with the guy in the punk rock band. And many actors I met in Los Angeles over the years, same thing. They have to find a job or a series of jobs that allow them to pay the bills and yet still go on calls, often at the last minute, right? It's very difficult. Or adults who manage their children who are actors, same kind of thing. They have to have jobs that allow them to, at the drop of a hat, grab the kid and run off to an audition of some sort. Then, of course, you've got the stage parents that are living through the children, and the kids don't really have the passion, but the parent has the passion. Sometimes you see this in these horrible, I think they're horrible anyway, these beauty pageants.
Oh, for the little kids? Oh, God, I agree with you. I think that's just way over the top.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong. Making
kids... a 6-year-old dress up like a 30-year-old is just a really bad idea.
No, making them move as if they're sexy. And I saw a documentary on this one woman who was giving her little 5-year-old Red Bull and Mountain Dew to get her all caffeinated and perky. And it's just...
Wow.
Oh, that just destroys the self-image in many cases of these little kids.
It's just got to be vicarious. It's got to be all about the parent needing to experience it through the kid.
Well, I think they might fool themselves into thinking they're helping the child build positive self-image.
Or they went through it and they remember loving it, quote unquote, so they think the kid would too.
That's the tragedy of parents needing the child to succeed where they failed.
Right, as if the child was like a clone of them with the same gifts, talents, and abilities and same passions. Your children are not the same as you. only half of their genes come from you for what, but bottom line is their experiences living in these years compared to the years you grew up in, completely different experiences. Children are not clones of their parents, and they need to experience themselves and not live their lives through what their parents think they ought to be. There's so much pressure on children. Of course, that was always true. Growing up Jewish, it was like doctor or lawyer were the two choices I was supposed to make. One of those two.
Yeah, make your parents proud.
Yeah, didn't really want to do either one of those things. But what I did do, and I was very fortunate, was discover my great gifts, talents early in my life and put them together in a way of making a career. And I started making money doing what I love when I was a teenager. It's, very rare that people are able to find their passion and just, really not have to go do a day job, But I was willing to. I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to make my dream come true. And that's, I think, a big part of it. If you're following your passion, it's about perseverance. It's about continuing to follow it. It's not about giving up easily. It's not about making detours being the problem. The shortest distance between 2 points, Michael said, is often under construction. It also doesn't include the scenic route. It doesn't include the pretty stuff that you can see on the way. It's not always best to go directly there. What was it? Einstein said logic will take you from A to B, but imagination takes you everywhere else. So sometimes it's a better journey to go not the most direct route, but to experience some greatness on the way. Find your passion. Again, listen to your body. It smiles. It feels good. It tingles. It radiates joy. When your body's doing that, it's telling you, this is something I feel passionate about. A much more important question than, what do I think, is what do I care about? What do I feel is important? What do I lust and long and desire and a hunger for? What makes me feel satisfied? What quells the thirst, the hunger, the desire that I have? Listen to your body. It will tell you what your passion is. And then you don't have to be doing it right now. You just have to be moving toward it, because every day when you wake up, knowing that part of this day includes a movement toward what you love the most makes today a very special day.
One of my favorite films of all times, and I'm going to recommend it. It never really was much of a blockbuster, but what a quality film, right along the lines of what we're talking about today, is entitled October Skies. Did you ever see it?
I did. I remember that.
Remember that? It's a true story about a man who ended up becoming one of the most important rocket scientists at NASA and responsible for us getting to the moon and putting the Hubble telescope up and a number of other things. This young man was born to a father who was a coal miner in West Virginia, in a family of coal miners where all the other families were coal miners, lived in a company town. And while you might not think mining coal is a very attractive position, and who would want to send their son into the coal mines, there are bonds that are really strong between father and son, and it's a tradition. Like here in Hawaii, it was true for centuries that if your father was a stonemason, you were a stonemason. If your father was a fisherman, you were a fisherman. If your father was a taro farmer, you'd be a taro farmer. And I think that's true in a lot of pre-industrialized nations, where there isn't that rush to the city or that opportunity for higher education to choose a career. Anyway, this young fella, who was expected to go into the coal mines, loved rocketry, got a book in high school, was really good with math and science and physics, and started playing around with these homemade rockets. Of course, as the story goes, they burned down half of the forest outside town one day because a rocket went in the wrong direction, and they got in trouble, suspended from school. And of course, Dad liked the older brother better because not only was he going to go into the mines, but he was the football star, not the nerdy scientist kid who was a little younger and never really got Dad's love. But he did love rocketry, and he was willing to give up his father's respect. He didn't want to, but if that's what it came down to, he was willing to give that up, not go into the mine, not attempt to be a football star like his older brother, but pursue the rocketry. And the movie is really quite well done. It shows the father who never missed one of the older brother's football games, but for some reason just couldn't find the time to come to the rocket trials. Finally comes around, is proud of the kid. The kid wins the state championship. I'm surprised how much of the movie I remember. It really impressed me, and I think if young people could see a movie like that or read the book that it was based on, again, a true story, I think it's called Rocket Boy or Rocket Boys, something like that. The film, again, is called October Skies. I would show that to every young man and woman in high school who's thinking about what they want to do for a living. I'm not saying it would persuade everybody to go into rocketry, but it would hopefully give people the idea that they could seek and find and honor, respect your passion for things that you love to do. Then the secret, I think, to making an income or a living doing it is just to be really good at it. That doesn't occur to a lot of people. They say, well, I could never be a poet. I mean, I can't be a writer. Oh, my God, a painter? I would end up broke and starving. How do you know? If you pursue your passion with a desire to be the best that you can be, if you respect yourself, develop yourself, never give up, really work at it, how could you not end up being excellent? And whatever you do, there's always a market for excellence, and people will pay for excellence. You know how people say sometimes now that, well, there's no market for that anymore. Well, people don't make things like they used to anymore. Well, there's a really popular program on the History Channel about a guy that restores things from that era. He doesn't build them like they used to. He restores them to be like, I think it's very, very cool. It's very interesting. And I think we're going to see the pendulum swing back to that. We're tired of things that are replaceable, of planned obsolescence, of the intention of being a disposable society as if that somehow stimulates our economy. Environmentally, we cannot tolerate being a disposable society for very long. We need to get back to some kind of middle ground, some blend of high technology and convenience, but at the same time, respect for the land and for the environment. And it seems like politicians always want to make it an either-or, everything or nothing argument, as if there were no middle way or point of integration. So when you think about your passion to follow your heart and do what you want to do for a living and be the best that you can be at that, consider that there is a third way, and that'll open up the fourth option and the fifth possibility and the sixth way of looking at things so that you can have an integrated life and respect all of your values and at the same time fit into society, provide a service or a product that people really need and are willing to pay for, and make you a prosperous person because you are so excellent at what you do.
It takes a lot of practice to become world-class, masterful at something. They say like 10 or 20,000 hours, you know. But if you're fortunate enough to be a younger person listening to this program, you've got lots of time to create that kind of mastery. But what are you going to spend 10,000 hours doing? Something you kind of like? No. Something you adore. The only thing that's going to entice you to spend 10,000 hours doing it is something that makes you really excited, something that just makes your heart beat fast and makes your mouth smile. You know, that's what you're looking for. And some kids, for example, some kids are made to take music lessons when they're kids, like piano lessons or guitar lessons or whatever. And some kids, like, just resent it. You know, it's that half hour of practice every day that they could be out playing with their friends, and they're just resented, and they just never get to be that good because even the time they do spend practicing, their mind's somewhere else. And then there are other kids who just pick up that guitar or pick up that, well, you probably don't pick up the piano, but sit down at the piano, and it just feels like it comes naturally, and they start to imagine like serenading their girlfriend or boyfriend or playing for their friends, or they start to imagine being a rock star or a symphony pianist, and they start to fantasize, and all of a sudden those 10,000 hours go by very, very quickly. If you're fortunate enough to be young and discover your passion, but it's never too late. I mean, Grandma Moses learned to paint at 80. A wonderful story comes to my mind about somebody I care a great deal about, my nephew, Scott Clifton, who's just recently won an Emmy Award as the best young actor in daytime television. In his 5th nomination for that, he finally won. He's a soap star. He's one of the stars of The Bold and the Beautiful. But when he was a little boy, like 7 or 8 years old, he memorized the Hamlet soliloquy, to be or not to be, that is the question. And he loved to perform it and with big hand gestures and, just jumping around. And then he got like this Superman costume and he loved to pretend to be Superman and fly. He was always acting. When he was like 10 years old, an acting coach saw him do that Hamlet thing and offered to give him lessons. And he gave up his Saturdays for, I think, like 10 years or something like that. All his friends were playing on Saturdays like kids do, but he gave up all the hours and hours every Saturday. He'd go and take acting lessons and he still does. I mean, he's still always learning, always growing. But he knew from the time he was a little boy, he knew that's what he wanted to do. When he went to high school, he actually moved from his parents' house to his godparents' house because they lived in a school district that had acting as a subject at Beverly Hills High he went to, and they had a good acting program. So his whole life got focused around, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I really want to do. If you're fortunate enough to discover that earlier in your life, wonderful. But it's never too late. And maybe you think it's too late to make a career out of it. And you know what? It just might be. But it's not too late to make a hobby out of whatever it is that you love. It's not too late to find some time in every single day that you can do some of that thing that you really, really love, whatever it is. It's never too late to add or to build upon those passions that you have in your life. So whether it's starting and discovering new ones, whether it's realizing ones that you had in childhood, I mean, what did you love to do before you got messed up and got involved in all the stressful stuff in your life? What games did you love the most? What did you love to play? What were your talents and abilities in childhood? They're still in you. It's time to rediscover the old ones. It's to uncover some of the new ones. And whether it's something you can devote your life to or just allow your life to feel enhanced by, we all need to find our passions.
So let's install this understanding, put you in touch with that passion in your heart, in the center of your body, in the core of your being, so that you can honor it. And even if you're in touch with it, maybe explore it in a whole new way. So if this is a good time for you, get comfortable, find a chair or a sofa, a pillow to sit upon, and you could take a formal yoga kind of meditation position, but it's just as effective. We're Westerners, most of us. Just sit back in the chair if you'd like. And you want to sit up as straight as possible, but not be rigid.
If you lay down, you're really likely to fall asleep. So it's sitting up kind of straight really keeps you from falling asleep.
Balance, I like, is a nice word. I think of myself as going from skeleton to Raggedy Ann doll. And
Nice.
just sort of, propped up, but aligned and then beginning to soften, like butter on a warm day or a snowman when the sun comes out. You just yield to the letting go and take a few slow, deep breaths as you do this. Meditators often don't think about induction. They just start meditating. But whether we call this meditation or contemplation, introspection or self-hypnosis, or a kind of a prayer-like state, turn within as you breathe and relax. Feel the letting go in your body, and silently and internally tell yourself that you're safe. Remind yourself that you're safe, and this is a good time for you to close your eyes and relax.
And find yourself in paradise. As you relax, as you unwind, as you release the tension and slow down your mind, what you find is really nice. It's feeling safe in a place that's beautiful. That's called paradise. So with every breath that you release, let go of tension, replace with peace. Let your mind unwind and find this paradise. And as the external world fades from your mind, and the internal world awakens, you find. You can see very clearly right into your heart, into what you love, and that's where you start. Here in paradise, what you do is allow your heart to speak to you. And you'll find in this fashion, you can discover your passion.
Imagine that you're in a rowboat without any oars. Or maybe you have oars that you're going to use later, or even a little outboard, but right now you're content to allow yourself to drift. Or like a cloud that has no agenda but seems content going whichever way the wind blows. In this regard, considering what you love to do, free yourself up to drift or to float this way or that. Even if you think you already know a particular passion, something you love to do and would like to make into a career or vocation, open yourself right now to the way it would feel to be so free to just go this way or that. And now consider that love is magnetic. That your passion, your awareness of the things that fulfill you and make you happy, that quality has a magnetic nature, and even now, in this sense of freedom, is beginning to draw you or pull you in one direction or another. And you begin to feel yourself drawn towards something. You're not even sure what it is, but you can feel yourself being pulled in the direction of something that you love, something that even now you can feel the anticipation in your body, not in your head. If you're still in your head, take another breath, relax, and move your awareness down into your body. Just pretend, if you need to, and feel the anticipation and the sense of excitement as you approach closer and closer, and awareness, and insight, a recognition and understanding of something you really love to do, whether in career or in your avocations and hobbies and spare time interests. Maybe it's geographical, an area where you'd like to live. Maybe it's a quality of relationship in romance or friendship that you never really had before, but now feel yourself being drawn to. And as you get closer, that magnetic pull for love and awareness is magnetic. You feel it growing stronger, and your speed toward this realization is accelerating. And if you relax and allow this process to continue, and even repeat this practice, you'll feel more excited and more passionate and begin to understand that you can do this and you can have this. And the secret is you don't really need to know how you're going to do it yet. You begin with the end in mind, with a vision that is coming to mind through the passion in your heart of what you'd like to do or have or be based on this deep, integrated feeling. It feels like freedom, you see. And it feels like a promise of fulfillment. Like maybe there really is a reason for you to be. And if the mind jumps in and says, yeah, but, doesn't matter what follows, be aware of the yeah, but, and answer it from the heart by saying, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but this is what I want to do. This is the direction I'm moving in. And let that, for now, be enough. First, realize the goal that is coming from your heart, the dream. And in time, a way will reveal itself to you.
So any negative thoughts about what you love, you'll find you can release and just rise above. And any positive thoughts about what you adore, you can embrace those thoughts and then have some more. Thoughts are your friend if you release the negative and embrace the positive. You'll find all your thoughts, whatever thoughts that emerge from your mind, are just submitted for your approval, and you get to say yes or no, and say yes to the good ones and let the bad ones go, and it's all okay. Whatever you think, just allow the negative ones to sink and the positive ones to rise, and as you do, you realize that thoughts are your friend. You can let go of those that don't work, embrace the ones that do. Thoughts are your friend. Make your positive thoughts come true. So when you follow your passion, when you follow your heart, and that negative thoughts, they all start, well, just take a deep breath and let them go. Embrace a positive thought, the positive flow. And when you're moving toward your passion, you'll know it's true because it just feels right. It feels great in you. You'll feel the smile on your face, and you'll just know it's right. It will feel like joy. It will be a delight. You know what you're doing is the proper path to take. It's very clear. There's no mistake. Your heart lets you know. This feels great. And as you move in that direction, what you create by following your passion is a life full of love, where any negativity you can rise above, and anything you find that you truly adore, you can embrace those things and have even more.
Your dreams are the seedlings of reality. Give yourself permission to dream and plant that seed in the fertile ground of your heart. Believe in it. Think of the dozens and dozens of myths and stories and fairy tales and adages about believing in your dreams. Trust them. It's a very real concept. And bring that passion, that expectation, that belief, even if it includes not sure exactly how to get there, but then I didn't know how that seed would grow when I planted it in the ground, but I cultivated it. I gave it water and nourished it with compost, and it sort of did it by itself. Let your dream unfold in the same way, but carry the belief and the expectation. Do not be afraid to invest emotionally in believing in your dreams, and bring that with you gently into the waking state as you inhale now. Nice, big, slow, deep breath. Hold as you peak, and as you exhale, relax, open your eyes, wide awake and alert, back in the room, feeling better than before.
Even better than before. And, of course, that's what growth is all about, right? Getting better than before. So we want to suggest that if you haven't found your passion, that this is a great time. Now is probably the best time there ever could be. Now is the only time there ever could be to find your passion. If you don't do it now, you'll never do it. So do it now. And if you have found your passion, then what you want to do is follow the positive thoughts that lead you in that right direction and allow the negative thoughts to be released. Negative thoughts are there for your benefit. They're submitted for your approval. The only way to release the charge on them is to face them, experience them, breathe through them. And it's that irony, as you move toward them, you let them go. It's by trying to move away from them, you hold on to them. So move toward those negative thoughts, embrace them, breathe into them, release them, and let them go. Finding your passion is one of the greatest things in the world because it doesn't really matter if you get there. It's all about the journey toward. I left home early this morning to drive the Hana Highway here in Maui up to upcountry Kula where Michael lives. And, I love being here in Kula, but it's not all about Kula. It's about the drive. It's an incredible experience on the way. And that's what life is really about. It's not about some destination that you're going to get to. I know my passion is to be the center fielder for the Yankees. Well, even if you don't get to be center fielder for the Yankees, even if you just play in college or, you even high school or Little League, if you love the experience of playing the game and having the dream, then whatever it is you learn about that experience will suit you, will really aid you in whatever it is you finally end up doing.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week as we continue with our personal empowerment series, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Thanks for being with us. Mahalo. And as always, be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner. Aloha from Maui, Hawaii.